Feel like you're being pulled in 1,000 directions? Let's fix that. Download your free rebalancing toolkit and learn how to design an optimized week that lets you feel like you have it all. Get the goods at brilliantbalance.net/have-it-all.
I'm Cherylanne Skolnicki, and this is Brilliant Balance, the show for working women who are ready to shine. Each week, I bring you ideas, inspiration, and insight on balance, business, and getting it all done gracefully. You ready? Let's be brilliant. Hello and welcome. This is episode 19 of Brilliant Balance. We're going to talk today about making decisions, which I know is a giant topic for women, especially for some reason. Making decisions is just a really big tangle sometimes. And yet I was watching my son this morning, and he was in the kitchen trying to decide what to have for breakfast. And I thought, well, there it is. There's the same pattern playing out in this little guy. He's 10, first of all, and he was going back and forth between the very few options that there even were to have breakfast, trying to sort of find the optimal solution. So he would walk to the pantry and pick something up and then talk out loud as he wandered over to the toaster and then put it down and walk back to the refrigerator and open that up and take something out and then walk over to the sink and unmake that decision. And this went on for a few minutes, and I was sort of chuckling to myself. And I said, honey, you're playing paralyzed in indecision. And he looked at me really blankly, and I thought, oh, he doesn't know that term. So paralyzed in indecision is kind of an inside joke in our family, and its origins go all the way back to when I was in my early 20s and I was living in Atlanta. My best friend and I were in line at like a deli. The way the story unpacks, we were approaching the place where you had to make the order, and I had been vacillating between several different options of what I could order. And I was, maybe I'll do this, and oh no, I don't know, maybe I should get that, or oh, maybe this would be a better decision. And she always tells it that we finally get to the front, and I'd sort of settled on a decision. I placed the order, and no sooner did the guy say, okay, that'll be, however many dollars. I said, wait, I need to change my mind. And then I started right back into not being able to decide and vacillating between all of these different options in front of this poor man who was trying to take our order. So she was mortified, right? But she was poking fun at me, and she said, stop playing paralyzed in indecision. Just choose something. So it jolted me a little bit. We did make the choice. We got out of the place, and we talked about it a lot that day, and honestly, frequently in the years since, of what is that? What is that pattern of behavior that locks us into a place where we just cannot decide? Whether it's a 10-year-old kid trying to get out the door for school, or whether it's us in line at the deli, why are we sometimes so locked up when it comes to making decisions? Especially when, if you think about it, our lives are more or less defined by our ability to make decisions. They really matter. They play into our careers, our relationships, our health. Anything and everything about who we are today comes down to the decisions that we've made in the past. And who will be in the future, 100% dictated by the decisions that we're going to make as we go forward. But we really struggle with this process of decision making. And I think it's getting worse, not better, especially in this era where we have almost unlimited data, unlimited options, unlimited information, available to us. We generally have everything going for us, but when it's really crunch time, we can't make that firm commitment to a decision. So if you're trying to determine if this is an issue for you, think about some of these labels that you may have called yourself or other people may have called you. Maybe you've called yourself an overthinker. That's a pretty common term for this, or a procrastinator, Or maybe you've used the term analysis paralysis, or being a perfectionist. Sometimes this really shows up with people who know that they have tendencies toward perfectionism. So no matter what you call it, if you are struggling to make decisions, you are going to struggle to be a high performer in your life. And we may be able to do a few things today that give you some strategies to help you make faster, smarter decisions that will keep you moving, right? And keep you from getting stuck where you don't need to be. And I think just to frame this whole discussion, one of the things that is really helpful is realizing that there are very, very few decisions in life where you can't change them once they're made. And you know what they are. Other than those precious few decisions that really can't be changed or can't be changed easily, pretty much everything else, you can change your mind and make a different decision the next time, or you can unmake the decision. There's kind of a famous Dave Ramsey quote, and he once said that the secret to his decision-making strategy was, I make a decision, and if it's the wrong one, I make another one. That's brilliant. That reminder that these are very rarely life and death is going to help you keep moving forward. So I'm going to share 4 different strategies with you today, all of which are very effective in helping you make these smarter, faster decisions so that you can be an action taker and not somebody who's mired, in the decision process. All right, the first one is, if you are a poll taker, stop taking polls. Right? We all know this person. The poll taker is the person who is asking everybody that she knows what she should do. They need a collection of opinions before they can decide how to proceed. Even if it's something like, what dress should I wear to this event? She's talked to or texted 10 different people to get opinions and sent photos of the dresses. And that can go on for hours and hours. And she still hasn't made the decision because there could be conflicting opinions among the people who she's tried to ask for input. So if you're a poll taker, you want to think about why you don't trust yourself. And if it's because you've made some bad choices in the past, who hasn't? Right? You don't have to carry that forward as a burden where you need to have a committee of decision makers for everything you're doing. You're the one who has to live with the outcome. So it's really crucial to determine what you want for yourself. And it can be something as simple as what dress you're going to wear, or something as important as what you're going to do with your professional life, or who you're going to marry, or where you're going to live, or where you're going to send your children to school. I mean, these are decisions that affect your life and the people closest to you, but you really don't need a ton of people's opinion on how to proceed, because they're not going to be the ones living with the outcome. Now, if you're facing a really weighty decision that truly calls for advice, it's a great idea to seek counsel from somebody who you trust, or from a neutral expert, but you might do it more as disaster checking your decision rather than just saying, what do you think I should do? And then seeking that input from a whole bunch of people. So that's the first strategy, is if you're a poll taker, stop taking polls to make decisions. They're very slow. They don't tend to lead to the smartest decisions anyhow. Second strategy. The second strategy is almost a mantra that I learned years ago from a really good counselor. And it was during a time when I was really struggling with perfectionism, and it was getting in my way of decision making. And then there was this pattern that I was noticing of all the perfectionists around me who were in the same pattern. And so the pattern is, trying to sort to the perfect outcome, believing, first of all, that there is a perfect choice, and then believing that it's our job to find it. So this can play out in something as little as, what am I going to order from this restaurant menu? Or it can be something more significant. But the analysis paralysis of trying to find the perfect outcome is breakable with this really simple mantra. And here it is. There is no perfect fill in the blank, right? There is no perfect outfit to wear to the event. There is no perfect handbag to buy. There is no perfect place to take the family on vacation. Now, you might not believe me right now. If you're stuck in this pattern, you might be saying, oh, yes, there is. So it's more this. There are a collection of very good options. Maybe it's a small collection. Maybe there are only 3 or 4 places that meet your criteria, or 3 or 4 outfits that all could work. But there is not just one. When you find that you're really stuck, maybe you're the person who's in your closet going through outfit after outfit after outfit, trying to get out the door in the morning because you've got a big meeting that day and there's this one outfit that's going to say exactly what you want to say in that meeting. Or you're the person who's researching online vacation destinations and hotels and things to do in the area because you're trying to find the perfect solution. There is freedom in this phrase, there is no perfect answer. What it will do is it will give you a small collection to say, I can't make a bad decision among these 3 options. So I'm just going to pick one and move on. And then you'll be having the experience, right? Or getting to work on time because you won't be stuck trying to be in that place in your brain that's just like this really loud ping pong match of trying to sort to the perfect answer. That's the second strategy. Very powerful if you find that you are prone to perfectionism.
Feel like you're being pulled in 1,000 directions? Let's fix that. Download your free rebalancing toolkit and learn how to design an optimized week that lets you feel like you have it all. Get the goods at brilliantbalance.net/have-it-all.
Third strategy. Third strategy is this is a great one for very small decisions, right? Ones that really don't matter a whole lot, but you know that they are tripping you up and you want to get faster. So the idea behind this one is to create action through a self-imposed deadline. So we're going to call it the 2-minute rule. It's really simple to execute. So anytime that you have a decision to make and you notice yourself starting to waffle and you know it's not like a critical life decision, you want to set a timer, either literally or figuratively. Give yourself 2 minutes, and at the end of those 2 minutes, you will have decided. You commit to deciding. So why does that work? Well, the time limit forces you to more quickly, go through those pros and cons while you're coming to a decision. You're not going to ignore the analysis of pros and cons or thinking about which would be better, but you're going to realize that you can get the data that you need inside of a couple of minutes and then move forward. So I'll give you an example. Have you ever been on Amazon trying to buy something? Okay, and you put in your search term, you find the thing you think you want to buy. But if you could have one of several options, have you ever ended up down that rabbit hole where 20 or 30 minutes later, you're still looking at options and trying to decide, is there a cost advantage? Is there a shipping time advantage? Is there something a little bit better about the color of this one or a little bit better about the quality of that one? That is a great example of a place where the nuances are probably so small that the time that you are investing in trying to find the perfect answer is time you could have reinvested in any number of other things and just moved on. Okay, so online shopping is a really good one to think about this 2-minute rule. Standing in the kitchen trying to decide what to make for dinner, your family trying to decide, which movie to see. These are not make it or break it decisions. And so if we can learn speed in those, then we reclaim time for things that just frankly matter a whole lot more. Okay, so that's the third one. So we've covered 3 so far and we have 1 more. The first one was, if you're a poll taker, stop taking polls. The second one was, there is no perfect solution, right? Fill in the blank. The third one is to follow the 2-minute rule, that if you have a decision that's really not that critical, that you set a timer for 2 minutes and you make the decision within the 2 minutes. And then the fourth one is something that I've been using a lot lately in business. And this is called a decision sprint. So a decision sprint is when you maybe notice that you're starting to slow down your pace of action because your brain is getting foggy or muddled with a lot of half-made decisions. Okay, so for me, it shows up sometimes in my business. It definitely shows up sometimes in my personal life where I'm just starting to get a little foggy because there are these half-made decisions. I think this is the direction I'm going. I think this is what we're going to do, but I haven't really brought it to closure. So here's how the decision sprint works. Get out a sheet of paper or a notebook or Evernote, whatever you use. And at the top, you're going to write decisions, and I usually have this like bold and all caps for emphasis. And then every place where you are waffling, you're going to declare your choice. Essentially, make the decision on paper. And what that does is energetically, you will feel yourself shift into execution mode. So you'll no longer be deciding, you'll be implementing. I remember when I was thinking about launching this podcast, and I had half made the decision for quite some time. I think I'd like to start a podcast. It would be a good idea to do a podcast. I'm interested in doing it. People would like, there were all these kind of messages, but I had not made the decision that I was doing it. And then what that would bring with it were all of the steps toward execution. And I remember the day that as part of a decision sprint, I wrote, launch podcast. Everything fell into place within weeks after writing that decision down. Okay, it had been sort of dragging for months, but within weeks of declaring the decision, I had somebody to produce the podcast. I had a name for it. We had cover art. We had the first 12 episodes scoped out. I had figured out what equipment I needed to use and where to record. All of those things happened quickly, okay? So they follow the decision. And decision sprints are incredibly clarifying because when you know there are several open loops siphoning off energy and you can bring them to decision and then move into execution, it's a very different series of tasks to implement something than it is to decide. I'll use the vacation example again. When you're listening to this, you may be planning spring break or planning summer vacation. The longer you stay in, we're not sure where we're going yet, right? You can't move into actually booking tickets, getting a hotel, defining the activities that you're going to do, right? You can't do those things until you've decided. So wherever you feel that you're starting to get muddled, declare the decisions, move into execute mode, and watch what happens. Because you're going to be amazed by what happens as soon as you shift that energy. So there's 4 strategies that we talked about today. So again, back to why this matters. This matters because as working women, one of the things we complain about all the time is that we don't have enough time. We're constantly, chronically feeling like we don't have enough time. I am fundamentally convinced that one of the reasons we don't have enough time is because we're investing a lot of the time that we have inefficiently overthinking decisions that need to be made. And if we can get better at making the decisions, we will have a whole lot more time available for implementation. And that is where the action happens, right? Implementation is how you move your life forward. Those were the 4 strategies. I'm going to recap them one more time. If you're a poll taker, stop taking polls. There is no perfect fill in the blank. Third one was the 2-minute rule for small decisions. Set a timer, decide within 2 minutes, move on. And the fourth one was this decision sprint where you can actually have a collection of decisions that you make and feel a big surge of movement forward once you've kind of cleared the decks of the need to make those decisions. Because here's the truth. With rare exception, the only bad decision is indecision followed by inaction. That's pretty much as bad as it gets. Most of the time, making a decision and moving is going to be the way to go. And here's the really cool thing. Often, once you decide to move, you decide to go forward, it's almost like the world conspires to support you. And what often happens, I know to me, and I've had this experience now with countless of other women, is you will cross paths with someone who has done what you want to do or who has been where you want to go. The path just becomes evident. So when you can make a decision and pay attention to who shows up to help you implement, and you take advantage of that, right? You connect to that energy, you connect to that person, that group, that environment, then you get sort of pulled forward at an accelerated pace. And that's actually what we're going to talk about next time. The next episode, we're going to talk about why it's important to be in the right environment. Once you've decided to do something, how important that environment can be to get you into the next level, right? To get you where you want to go. And I'm going to give some ideas on how you can make that happen. So between now and then, take these strategies out into your life this week. See if you can challenge yourself to make smarter, faster decisions. And let's see if that helps you go be brilliant.
This is thepodcastfactory.com.